31 years ago in 1994, an East Alabama pastor named Kelly Clem was about to preach her Easter message after a tragedy that captured the nation's attention. The Sunday before in Piedmont, an F4 tornado slammed into Goshen Methodist Church during their Palm Sunday service. 20 people died, including 6 children. One of them was Pastor Clem's daughter, Hannah. Almost 100 people were injured. A week later, the church held an Easter service in the parking lot of their destroyed house of worship. And standing before them was a bruised Pastor Clem, who was leaning on God more than ever. And Pastor Kelly Clem is with us this morning. It is such an honor to talk with you all these years later, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was a young reporter covering the storms that day in Alabama, and nothing could prepare us when we drove up and saw what was left of your church. Take us back to that Palm Sunday service. Did you know that there was severe weather headed your way?
We didn't know. We were expecting a thunderstorm, and so we had candles just in case the power went out, because frequently the power would go out with thunderstorms out in the country where we were, and we had actually. It started to rain at the beginning of the service, and there were people going out and helping people with umbrellas to come in. But we didn't know that it was a tornado. We did not know we were under a tornado watch or warning or anything, and it actually just kind of suddenly dropped down in our area anyway. But we were on the county line between Calhoun and Cherokee County anyway. But we didn't have sirens or any kind of other. We did not have a phone in the church or any other way to be notified.
So the children were in the sanctuary putting on a skit, as I remember, and what happened next?
Well, half of the congregation basically was involved in this, and it was a drama of observing the last week of Jesus' life. So it begins with Palm Sunday, and the children had proceeded with palms, and we had a little children's time, a lot of children, and there were youth who were involved in speaking parts, and some of them were actually up front when this happened, and the choir was part of it as well. So we were all part of the drama, really, and I was singing with the choir and doing other parts too as well. And about halfway through the service, we were just kind of aware that this storm was really picking up. And I remember turning to someone next to me saying, "This is really bad." And then the next thing we knew, that the church was just imploding.
And the roof fell in, walls fell in. You lost so many that day, including Hannah. And I will never forget going back to the church for Easter, the Sunday service. You all had sunrise service there, and you and your husband were so kind to give us reporters time to talk with you before you went before your congregation. And one network reporter, and I remember rather snidely, asked you how he was to believe your faith was getting you through the loss of your daughter and so many of your friends and your church. How did faith play a role in getting you through what I can imagine is the darkest time you've been through?
Yeah. We were so aware of the story of Jesus that was happening in our sanctuary that day, and then it was almost like when everything fell apart and the church collapsed around us, it was though we were living in the disastrous day of the crucifixion of Jesus, with a lot of chaos and unexplainable sadness and confusion. And so that week we really were just kind of living Holy Week, and Easter Sunday, some churches offered to let us use their buildings to have worship, and we just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. And miraculously, a lot of people just came up with ways of helping us. So the college students at JSU came over and swept things out of the way, kind of cleaned up the parking lot. A friend of mine came from Virginia and said, "What can I do to help?" And someone had mailed us some stained glass windows from something they had used wholly during Lent, and he just built a little frame so we could kind of rebuild our church right there. So we faced the rubble of the church and set up chairs and a sound system and just had a worship service right there for the sunrise. And it was the most beautiful service because we just felt the hope of the resurrection. And, we know that our loved ones are with God. And so it was bittersweet, to say the least, but it was just a beautiful day of just claiming our faith. And so we felt like we weren't the ones clinging to our faith. We felt God holding us through that time. So it was kind of a continuous message for us.
Powerful, powerful time and a powerful message for Easter. And Pastor Kelly Clem, it is just wonderful to talk with you all these years later. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.